Hello, everyone. Welcome to the League One Lowdown podcast. It's the review show. Myself, Jamie Johnson, as ever, here with Seb Jones. Plenty to talk about. 6 games again, as always, in detail. Before we head into it, we're going to start with Stockport against Stevenage. Seb, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, very good. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, as you said, sort of a full roster fixture, which is nice after last week's bit of mismatch. Few FA Cup, few League One fixtures, whereas this weekend all back to normal. So yeah, very good. Thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, good as well, thank you. I mean, a bit of a chaotic afternoon with the Doncaster game. So plenty to talk about with that. Between the two of us, we've done quite well, Barnsley and Doncaster. A lot of goals between our two games. And we're going to talk about both of those later on, as well as Luton, Peterborough, some interesting results, Plymouth as well. We're going to touch on later on in the podcast. But as I said a minute ago, we're going to start at Edgeley Park and Stockport County 3-1 defeat against Stevenage. It puts Stevenage above now Stockport in the table. They're up into 5th. They continue to pick up points, and in this one, the goal scoring has got to be a real positive because as much as they've been picking up points, drawing, winning games, they've not been scoring a lot of goals. But 3 in this one. Campbell, a really nice goal from him, and Reid and Thompson on the score sheet 2. What did you make to it, Seb? This one, a bit of a surprise for me in terms of Stockport not getting anything out of the game.
Yeah, see, I wasn't necessarily surprised by the result. I'm more surprised by the manner of the performance in terms of it just seemed to be an absolute collapse for Stockport. Obviously, we know they've not been on the best of runs at the minute. We know Stevenage have been, obviously there's been a few blips along the road. But yes, Stockport, they won midweek, not to bring it up again, but they won midweek, obviously, against Doncaster. So I guess you could have thought that might have sort of spurred them on. But it wasn't really. Back at home this Saturday, and yeah, they just continued that win in midweek was the first win for a good sort of 4 or 5 weeks. So really, I'm not surprised that they fell to another defeat. And yes, Stephen is continuing to impress. As you said, 3 different goal scorers. Sort of all 3 goals have all got bits of quality about them. As you said, especially that first one from Campbell, really nice finish into the top corner, and they're into 5th, so they're sort of flying in the table. 10 wins from 18 played so far this year. I'm just really impressed by Stevenage. Just continue to just keep going, really. Just keep sort of getting past teams, finding a way to grab those 3 points. And this is evident yet again. Obviously, Stockport, we know that they're on a bit of a poor run of form, but they went there, they beat what was in front of them, and they've maintained that they're in a really good position in the league table. So I'm not necessarily surprised by the result. I'm just surprised by the manner of which the performance, especially from a sort of point of view.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective. And with Stockport, that game you mentioned in me, 2-0, they beat Doncaster. And in the first half, they really had nothing to them. And not to sort of go back too far into the midweek games, but the first half, Stockport weren't troubling at all. But the second half, they were superb. Wooten, who scored in this game, was a real threat. He had a great towering header against Stevenage in vain, obviously, in the end. But he's been impressive up front. And Diamond and Mothersill, the 2 wingers, having pace and energy and being able to get balls in and getting good positions, themselves. But it didn't really transpire in this one. They're still missing that creativity that Oliver Norwood brings. And on another day against a better team, they wouldn't have won in midweek. Doncaster were really poor in that second half and allowed Stockport free rein, really, to pick up that 3 points. So they come up against a much sterner opposition in terms of Stevenage on Saturday, and they come undone, really, by a good side coming up against them. We're able to shut them down without that spark that Norwood, we keep sort of coming back to it. But that Doncaster game, their only league victory since Norwood picked up his injury, and that is a constant theme that they're missing that creative spark and that dynamism that he brings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned there, yeah, first, not winning the league apart from Tuesday since the end of October, and that has obviously coincided with the Norwood injury. Don't get me wrong, Wootton scored. He got the only goal for Stockport against Stevenage, but they just lack quality, really. It was sort of towards the end of the game, that Wootton goal, and literally about a minute later, and Stevenage, if from the kickoff, Stevenage go and grab the third. So it's really poor to get something to cheer about and then literally sort of do all that hard work away within minutes. So just that someone in the middle of the park, bit of experience. Obviously, we know that's what Norwood brings. And yeah, they just seem to be a bit all over the place. Stockport, not the Stockport that we know, not the Stockport that impressed so much in this division. I don't think they've quite been able to find that balance in midfield in terms of Ben Osborne's been playing there alongside Odin Bailey. You've also got Moxon as well to fit in there. They've not really quite found that right combination of midfielders to sort of replace that mould that Norwood now doesn't bring. Obviously, with him being out, it's worth noting. You mentioned there sort of they are in a bit of a poor in form, but they're still sixth in the league. Sort of, you would have thought without only 2 league wins since the end of October, you thought they sort of might have been a bit worse off. They're actually, still sixth, still in the last playoff spot at the minute. The division is, but actually they're still in a good position, still in a strong position. They're not too far off it points wise, and yeah, it's interesting. Although they are on this bad reform, the table doesn't suggest that they're doing that badly at all.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. And on Stevenage, finally, I mean, I think we constantly come back to the how long can this continue, and it seems like for a good time is definitely the answer to that question. They're keeping going and they're keeping picking up points, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. They're playing some nice football as well. It's not all, I guess, the old Steve Evans stereotypes that were pegged onto Stevenage. They're playing good football at times and winning games deservedly so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we mentioned that Campbell goal before, but the 2 other goals as well. One of them really nice through ball for Jamie Reid to finish, and then the other one, as I said, over the top, straight from the kickoff, sort of route one type football, which I guess what we would have seen with Steve Evans, but all 3 goals coming in a different manner, and that is the sort of thing you do want when you are up there, within the playoffs. Once you want to score goals in different ways, and Stevenage, with all 3 of their goals, have shown that in exactly that format. So that capability, that attacking prowess, clearly Stockport are lacking at the minute. Stevenage have in abundance.
On to Luton Town then, and a 2-2 draw for them against Port Vale at home. Vale sit rock bottom, they're 7 points adrift, and no league wins since September. But before we talk about Luton, there is a silver lining to go along with that ever worsening cloud, because they've scored their first League One goal since October. 6 games they had failed to score in a row. Port Vale, they finally do score, not enough though to get anything more than a point.
No, and I guess who is amongst the goals for Port Vale? It's that man again, Devante Cole, who we've spoken about many times on this show before in terms of the quality he possesses, the goal scoring prowess that he has, especially in this league. He grabbed the second. I'm sure when he scored, a lot of Port Vale fans might have thought that might have been it perhaps, and it might have been a great away win at Kenilworth Road. But Luton did get the equaliser, finish 2-2. Port Vale, I think, will be the more pleased at the 2 sides with the points. From a Luton point of view, they'll be really disappointed to draw, with no disrespect, but to the bottom of the table. Port Vale, obviously, I saw quite a few people on social media early saying it's not as if it's sort of the first few weeks of the league and the table's still working itself out. Port Vale are the bottom of the table after nearly 20 games. They've only got 15 points. So they're obviously deservedly bottom. That they've not got enough points to warrant being any higher. But from a Luton point of view, that's really disappointing, especially having taken the lead originally. Another brilliant Bramall free kick. Obviously, we saw him do that a few weeks ago away at Stockport as well. So they took the lead really nicely, and then to sort of within their own hands just concede the game almost. Fortunately, Mads Anderson goal from a set piece was able to sort of rescue something. But I think the Luton fans are really disappointed with this result. As I mentioned, drawing to bottom of the division, it's not a good look at all. They've already been on a pretty sticky patch as it is. Luton Town obviously got thumped by Barnsley a few weeks ago. They won in the EFL Trophy last midweek. They're still without a win in the league for I think it's 5
matches altogether. So yeah, and then sort of the draw to the bottom of the table. I don't think does them any favours at the moment in fans. And I think the fans certainly made the frustrations known today.
Yeah, there's no real consistency with Luton at all. It's just one win out of their last 5 League One games, 3 draws in there as well. Jack Wilshere calling it frustrated in his in-house interview. And interesting what you were saying, perhaps the Luton fans are more frustrated than the Port Vale fans. Both managers use that old phrase, 2 points, both Darren Moore and Jack Wilshere. Described the game as 2 points dropped. So that would indicate that it was maybe a fair result. Both managers think they deserve to win, perhaps a draw is fair there. You mentioned Bramall's free kick as well. Really finding out of all the goals from the weekend, a real beautiful free kick from him, but not really worth its value in the end, because that goal should be is worthy of a win, isn't it? But that draw 2-2, it's another draw to add to the list for Luton, and they're unable to put a whole performance together. Some weeks they're better going forward, others they're better defensively, but they're yet to patch those two into a complete performance, which we've said frustrated a couple of times. I'm sure is frustrating Jack Wilshere.
Yeah, absolutely, and for certain fans as well. As I mentioned, sort of saw quite a bit doing the rounds on X after the game, saying although it is a point, actually the overall performance was really poor and really lacking. To the point where maybe Luton were lucky to get a draw after this, because after taking the lead through Cole Bramall, they just sort of let Port Vale take the reins. They just didn't look cohesive. They tried Jacob Brown up front, didn't really work at all. Sort of lacking bit of option. Naki Wells came off the bench to be that forward man, but even he sort of not a point where you can rely on him every game to deliver the goods. So they're trying something, something new to try and establish a bit of consistency about them, but it just things don't seem to be clicking at the minute, and it's obviously going to take a bit of time. We know that there's been a hell of a lot of change at that club over the past few years, but ultimately they've drawn to the bottom of the table, and that will really hurt Jack Wilshere and really hurt the Luton Town fans and the performance as well. It's really lucky that Mads Anderson got that equaliser, because it would have been a much worse had the final result been a defeat from a Luton Town perspective anyway. So yeah, it's a good job, I think, from a Luton point of view that they did get that point, that late goal. As for Port Vale, I guess it's a draw for them against a former Premier League side, against with some good League One players. Ends a run of 2 defeats on the bounce, but it does mean there's not been a league win since the end of September. Still, obviously we've had the FA Cup, had the EFL Trophy in there as well, but no league win for a long time. We seem to mention this all the time when we chat about Port Vale. It's just sort of what next? What next? Because they don't have the capability to win their squad. There's 7 points between them and the safety zone. It's sort of almost, you just wait until January, aren't you? But then it's not the most attractive in the January window of a club to come to.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good summary, really. And they 2 wins in a row in terms of the cup competitions you mentioned there. They beat Bristol Rovers, who have just sacked Darrell Clark, their manager, of course, formerly of Barnsley. The League 2 Lowdown is a place to go to hear all about that, I'm sure. And they beat Barnsley 5-0 in the EFL Trophy, which you can't really read into because you don't know how good of a team, how good of a lineup these sides put out in those sort of competitions. But you would hope that would be some sort of confidence. I know a Seb Jones springboard maybe to try and propel Port Vale into a win. And they go to Port Vale and they just can't. They go to Luton, I beg your pardon, and they just can't do it, despite the fact that they came from behind. They had a goal just before half time, one not too long after, and that header and that goal, I beg your pardon, from Anderson late on, sort of derailing the momentum they did have. Port Vale. They play Peterborough next, who we're going to talk about in just a second. Actually, they beat Northampton Town on Saturday, and that's a big game. Really, it's 2 teams that are still down the bottom end of the table, and Port Vale need to start picking up points as they look towards January. And all attention is starting to go towards that window, isn't it, for those teams down the bottom end of the table. But I mentioned them there, Peterborough United, 2-1 victory against Northampton, and it lifts them out of the relegation zone. Mark Leonard with a brace, a goal either side of half-time. Eves made it interesting towards the end. 20 minutes to go, he got a goal back for Northampton, and McCarthy hit the post really late on. And how different we could be having a discussion here had that have gone in, and they would have got their sort of point out of this game. But as it was, it finishes 2-1. The red card, of course, a talking point. Well, I guess we'll come to that in a minute. But Peterborough United back on track a little bit, back-to-back wins after 4 defeats in a row.
Yeah, back to back wins, which is really good for Peterborough. I guess as for Northampton, it was downhill as it was, I guess, in terms of Peterborough coming into this one off of a victory. Morale is high, but even more downhill after the red card after 10 minutes. Jack Perkins being sent off. So that is always going to be sort of an uphill task to get something out of that one away from home. But yeah, they did. They got the goal through Tommy Eves to sort of get a consolation 70 minutes. And as you said, they did sort of put the pressure on Leyton Northampton, but it was 2 goals from Leonard and 2 really nice finishes actually. One in the stoppage time of the first half, and one just a couple of minutes into the second half. It really neat, especially for that first one, really nicely played through, nice through ball forward, and then the second one sort of easy tapping, but actually his colleague teammate did the work going forward. Garbett, I think it was, going forward, really nice run, and then sort of on a plate from just a few yards out. So 2 different goals, 2 nicely taken finishes, and 2 goals for Peterborough, which, as you said, makes it 2 wins on the bounce. So plenty of 2s happening at Peterborough United. So yeah, plenty. Luckily, they didn't concede 2; they just conceded the 1. But as you said, sort of a bit of a late scare. But they were absolutely helped. You know, when you're playing against a team with 10 men for 80 minutes of a game, then the absolute sort of, it's in your favour. The likelihood and the chance and probability is all in your favour. And they absolutely, despite a late scare, they absolutely made the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an interesting table. We say they're just a couple of places above the drop zone. They play Port Vale, as mentioned, next week, and 3 points, goal difference sort of aside, could put them as high as 12th. And I mean, it just shows how condensed that league is. With 25 points all the way up to Wickham, who sit, as I say, in 12th. So as much as it's been doom and gloom and they've been really struggling at the start of the season, a couple of wins, and it's incredible how much it turns around, because they're now pointing in the right direction and looking upwardly mobile, you would say, starting to turn that corner, are Peterborough. You mentioned the red card, Perkins with a high boot on Kioso. What did you make to it? The angle on the highlights, sort of the EFL TV angle, is the wrong side of the defender. But if there is contact, which it obviously assumes there is, there's no doubt in that decision being a correct one.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's the camera angle doesn't really show clear either way, but I think it is a foul, and I think it is sort of a contact there, which is red card worthy, and the referee sort of. Yeah, he did the thing. It went into his pocket, not quite sure what colour card he's going to produce, and then he brings the play Matt thought Matt got away with it and bringing out a yellow, but yeah, red. I think it was deserved. Like I say, you can't quite fully see. You can't quite fully see, but I think it was deserved, and I think it's a silly tackle. You don't really go in for that sort of challenge. It's a bit silly, especially
10 minutes
so
in as well. He sort of jeopardised sort of his team's situation, and sometimes I think referees maybe won't give it early on in the game, but they would later on. So it's always good to see that consistency. If it's a red card in the last minute, it's a red card in the first minute as well.
Absolutely,
And 10 minutes in that, coming for Northampton, who aren't on the best patch of form themselves. A little bit up and down as of late. They got a point against Huddersfield last time out, beat Plymouth before that, lost to Cardiff. They've not been poor by any stretch of the imagination, and that Cardiff result was one we talked about at the time of the game being perhaps unflattering and doing a bit of a disservice. So they've been winning a few sort of in and around that. They're not doing too badly. Consistency, obviously, always missing for those mid-table sides. They're 14th for Northampton, and if at the end of the season they're still 14th, I'm sure they'll be very happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they consistently inconsistent is sort of the term I use for teams like Northampton. I hate that phrase, but it's absolutely true in terms of they just can never really string a good set of results consecutively, and so that's what they're sort of getting it for. They deserve to be in mid-table because they can't string the results together, and that's where they end up being. So it is sort of absolutely does come true. In terms of absolute, I think maybe hope was slightly restored when Eve scored that consolation 70 minutes on the clock. And as you said, they had a late chance as well through McCarthy, had sort of late set piece pressure as well. But in the end, fallen to defeat. I don't think it's a bad defeat. I mean, sort of you do put the defeat down to the silly red card so early on. There's not much you can do really. As I mentioned, when you're playing so much of the game.
You're tying a hand behind your back, aren't you, early doors?
Exactly. Yeah, early doors, and it's a bit concerning. I mean, when you have someone like Eves coming off the bench and obviously getting a goal this time out, he's always a quality option up front. The likes of Hoskins and McGeehan as well within that setup. You know, there are some good quality players there that obviously pop up at the right time. Eves popped up with his goal, nicely taken, although it was a Peterborough State that allowed them in, but actually, really nice to take it. So there's sort of bits to be pretty pleased about, but overall, in terms of the result, they can't sort of look about it too deeply, I think, because of the red card, and they did well, I guess, for it to only be two goals conceded.
Given the man disadvantage,
Exactly, given the man, so they had to stand firm and had to maintain their defensive shape, and obviously they've done that. They'll be disappointed to concede right at the end of the first half, and then so early in the second half as well. That will disappoint them. But actually, I thought they stood the ground well throughout the game, especially because he played with a man less for so long.
Yeah, and halfway there, we're on to Barnsley against Leyton Orient next. 3-2 this one, and I can take a back seat. So, were you at the game at Oakwell, a 3-2 win for Barnsley?
Yes, I was. Where to start, really? But it seems to have been the absolute case for Barnsley over recent weeks. Seems to have just been a goal fest, really. Obviously, 5-0 last time out at Oakwell. A win against Luton, this time 3-0 win against Leyton Orient. It's a really tricky, really weird one because Barnsley have got the win and rightly so, and they dominated the game for most of this one, but actually for a large spell of it, Leyton Orient were on top. But because of Barnsley's own doing. So first half an hour was all Barnsley. Every time they came forward from Reyes Cleary, from Patrick Kelly, just looked like scoring. Cleary did open the scoring after 10 minutes really nicely, taking sort of half volley, sort of with his back to goal from the ball in from Kelly on the right hand side. And then, I don't know if you see this, Jamie, but it's a really weird Adam Phillips back pass. Sort of fizzes it back to the goalkeeper, Murphy Cooper, way sort of above Murphy Cooper's head. He sort of tries to jump up, tries to chest it down, but because there's so much power on the pass, he's not able to control it. He's on the edge of his penalty area. There's Leyton Orient player on rushing, and then Cooper tries to bring him down and concedes a penalty.
It's architects of their own downfall a little bit with the goals conceded.
Yeah, when they were so dominant in that first half an hour, and then that sort of Leyton Orient from then sort of had all the play really going up to half time, and they scored 2 within that. Obviously, the first from penalty spot and the second from O'Neill. That was another mistake that time from Jorgen Nathan giving the ball away in midfield too cheaply. So yeah, despite dominating for the first half an hour, Barnsley were 2-1 down at the half-time interval. So yeah, architected exactly that of their own downfall, and then Orient sort of dominated after half-time, but then Barnsley got back into it. John Russell with a nicely taken finish from a free kick, again Reyes Cleary with the assist, and then this time it was Leyton Orient's downfall, defensive error there. It was the substitute right back that had come on, Tom James, sort of left the ball, didn't see Reyes Cleary behind him, and Cleary just sort of along the face of goal for Keeler Dunn to tap home from a few yards out. So that was sort of right at the end, 85 minutes gone when Davis Cleary Dunn scored the winner. So yeah, a bit of a topsy-turvy game where Barnsley dominated, in the end got the deserving 3 points, but it should have been over and done with after half an hour. So yeah, again, architected their own downfall. Obviously, poor result for them at midweek at Lincoln, and they needed to bounce back, and they've done exactly that. But yeah, disappointing in terms of the amount of the goals that they've conceded despite the win.
Yeah, there's always almost entertainment with a Barnsley game. You get very few poor spectacles in terms of a Barnsley game. Back on track, they came, as you mentioned, sort of late on to get those couple of goals. Russell off the bench in the 77th minute, and then the one you mentioned there from the main man, Keylor Dunn. Clearly involved in all three, a couple of assists to go along with his opening goal. I think I've spoken a couple of times about over recent weeks about how impressed I am with Reyes Cleary and how important he is to that machine going forward for Barnsley. A couple of bits on Leyton Orient then. Sam, unhappy is the word I would use to describe our preview co-host, Sam. If you did miss it actually on Thursday, it is worth going back to his podcast he recorded. Flying solo he was, talking about transfers and previewing ahead to January. So it's timeless in the respect that you can listen to it after the games at the weekend. So do head back into your feeds to find that one. A bunch of sort of schoolboys in terms of their defending is how Sam described this one. They've got the worst defence in the league, actually. Only Plymouth rival them. They've now conceded one more goal than Argyle, who kept a clean sheet against Rotherham. Connolly's going to be a big miss as well. He's out for 4 months, give or take, through injury. Despite that, obviously scored a couple of goals, could have scored more. O'Neill was close at the death, and a disallowed goal that was controversial in Sam's eyes, at least. If you want to shed a bit more light there.
Yeah, I can see why he thinks that. He's battling his striker. I can't remember who it was. Striker's name. No, it was Ballard. It was the other one, the number 9, which I'll get up in a sec. But he came up. Jamie Alfie Lloyd came off the bench. Big sort of physical striker, held the ball down really well, battled with Shepherd, and Shepherd obviously just felt the contact and gone down, but just sort of outside the penalty area. So it's one of those where. The referee was sort of quite a distance away, so the referee's not really sure if the Shepherd had contact or just fell for it, but he's absolutely sort of fell for it, and Shepherd's gone down. Referee's given a free kick, and sort of then Lloyd had a go at goal, and the ball's gone in, but obviously the whistle went.
He's given a free kick.
He's given a free kick in Barnsley's favour, but that was that would have made it 3-3. Then that was sort of after Barnsley just grabbed their winner. So I can see why there's controversy in that, but then also controversy in the penalty. If you watch the penalty over, you do question how much contact there was the Murphy Cooper gave on the attacker there. So controversy at both ends, I guess, both of which, well, one of which went in the favour of either side. But yeah, Leyton on were really poor for a large percentage of the game, despite sort of controlling in spells, but at the back really poor. Connolly will be a big miss. He was a big miss today as well. And at the back, they just didn't seem to get themselves sorted. Marco Craig at the right wing back, I felt sorry for him. Obviously, up against Reyes Cleary, every time Cleary came forward, he just had him for toast, really. And then he got sort of hooked pretty early on in the second half. So yeah, they were poor at times defensively, Leyton Orient, and they're lacking a bit of firepower, I think, at the minute amongst their side.
Yeah, struggling a little bit, aren't they? The last word on them. It's 3 defeats out of 4 across all competitions. They beat Burton 4-0, the sort of shock result just before that run. But yeah, definitely struggling a little bit over recent weeks. They play Bradford next, so it gets no easier in terms of a side. They're up in second still, of course, the Bantams. But we'll move across to the only team above them in the table, which is Cardiff. Victory for them at the death against Doncaster. A couple of bits, obviously, I want to say about Rovers and that side of things. But it finishes 4-3, another goal fest. Plenty of good goals in this game as well. And the lead story, before I complain too much about a perhaps unfortunate turn of events, is that Cardiff doing very well. They've got a 4-point buffer at the top of the table, and the good times keep rolling for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure we'll mention this, but in proper dramatic fashion here, sort of 7-goal thriller at the Cardiff City Stadium, 4 different goal scorers, 90 plus 9-minute winner here. Yeah, proper League One game, proper festive action, all sorts happening. Their run just continues to keep going. The momentum is absolutely building. All the attackers either scoring or assisting. Salech with a goal and an assist. I'm sure I'll come on to him in a second because he was involved in a bit of afters after the game as well. But Davis, Kellyman, Ashford and Salech all involved. So that's Cardiff's front 4. All either scored or grabbed an assist, and that is exactly what we want to see as well. They're all just completely firepower, and yeah, their run absolutely continues. It almost sort of seem unstoppable, and the result today confirms that they'll be top on Christmas Day as well when it comes to it. They're 4 points. Bradford are 4 points behind them, so they can't catch them by Christmas Day. how long that will last, who knows? But they certainly sort of are in good stead. 13 wins from 19 in the league so far this season, Cardiff City. But it wasn't easy today against Doncaster.
Yes, well, Cardiff are one of only a few teams in the league who have 2 games before Christmas because they played Chelsea in the Cup in midweek. And I was thought perhaps that there could be a bit of rotation to lead into that, and maybe we had a bit of a chance and we took the lead early on, and it was a bit of a topsy-turvy game. I think if you'd have said beforehand, you'd obviously take a point, and it would have been a surprise to have got a point away from home. But in the circumstances, it's very disappointing to have lost it. That late goal that the goalkeeper, Timotei Tatula, who it's one he'll want back because the shots come in, he's parried it away, and as much as the ball should never have got there was some really poor defending to let the man just keep running towards the edge of the box, and they let him inside. The shot came, should have at least held it or pushed it behind for a corner, but instead parries it straight to the man rushing through to tap the ball home. So that was a disappointment. I think he should have done better with the second Cardiff goal as well. So not a day for him. But on the other end of the pitch, there are real positives to take out of the game for Doncaster. It's the best they've been in attack, Grant McCann said after the game, in their press and their energy really impressive there. Hanlan, nice clinical touch he showed for his goal, a striker's instinct there, which we've been missing at times, Doncaster this season. They lacked poise, though, in defence, and you could perhaps say that about the post-match antics involving Jay McGrath and Salic. Is a bit of a to and fro. I don't want to sort of go off on one too much, but it's pretty poor, isn't it? I mean, Cardiff came down last season. Doncaster came up. I mean, 2 years ago, they're 1 year ago, pardon, they're 2 divisions apart, and now Cardiff are giving it the big one because they've at home got a last-minute winner against a team they should be beating in a much more easy fashion than they did. So I think that was pretty poor order from Salic and a few of the Cardiff players involved in that scuffle after the game. But it's proper football, isn't it? We all like a bit of a bit of handbags after the game. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty poor showing, I have to say, in terms of the stuff going on after the game.
Yeah, well, that was poor in itself. In terms of Jay McGrath and Salic, sort of the main 2 culprits, if you like, amongst it all. It was comical, really, as you say. Yeah, the sort of such big celebrations. I guess for Cardiff, it's good. Guarantees, as I said, that their top of Christmas Day continues their good run, and they'll be pleased. They'd rather won the game than draw, and it's 3 league wins and the bounce now. Actually, no, it's more than that. It's 5 league wins in the bounce. The last defeat was away to Blackpool at the start of November, so that's sort of over a month without defeat in the league. So they'll be happy to keep that going. I guess they've been disappointed to draw, but as you said, they've absolutely been helped by Leyton Orient in the Doncaster goal. I agree with you in terms of the second. Definitely the last goal, definitely the winner he could have done a lot better with. But it's hard to pinpoint it just on him because...
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he's gotten a lot of pelters sort of social media-wise, but the ball shouldn't have got there in the first place. As much as he's made the mistake in terms of the save, there's been mistakes further up the pitch to allow that shot to come in.
Exactly. And, they're obviously conceding 3, now conceded 4. They'd already conceded 3 prior, so it's hard to win a game when you're conceding 3 goals. But Doncaster have lost the game. By
I mean, if you score 3 goals away from home, you got to win. You got to win that game of football. I mean, it's hard to score 3 goals in any game. Never mind away from home at one of the biggest stadiums in the league against one of the better teams. There's got to be disappointment mixed in with the positives in terms of the goal scoring for Doncaster. I mean, surprised we were talking about this game, because if it was a routine Cardiff win, we wouldn't touch it because it's the expected thing. But the circumstances of the game make it a very interesting one. Cardiff not sort of showing they can be sort of got at, that they're not infallible, really. I guess is what I would say then. But they got their win.
A proper Christmas cracker of a game, you could say.
Is that another catchphrase to add to the mix? I think we got that idea last week. Christmas cracker. I've got my tinsel in the background for those on YouTube, and you've got Christmas crackers jokes coming through. But we're definitely getting towards Christmas. Just the one, as I say, game to go, and just the one game to go in our podcast as well. And we're going to talk about Plymouth Argyle, 1-0 win for them against Rotherham United, and it's a really good win for Plymouth. They showed perhaps they're more than a one-man team, because obviously no Tolaj with his suspension still being served. Not pretty football, but it worked enough in this game. Pretty poor in terms of all of the passing from Plymouth. Though they get their 1-0 victory, a clean sheet, and Alex Mitchell really shone in defence, and imperious performance from him, who stopped a Rotherham side who dominated that second half from getting on the score sheet. So, I mean, all things considered, Joe Rails with a goal as well. Touch of class from him in the centre of midfield. A really impactful 3 points for Plymouth.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Perfect time to score. Joe Wells just before half time, sort of makes all the team talk difference, really, from a good positive perspective from the Plymouth side. Anyway, yeah, Joe Wells, nice to take and finish there to score the only goal of the game. And yeah, Plymouth did really well to hang on, sort of just see the game out. Great sort of defensive work throughout the game, created a few other chances as well later on to maybe add to their tally, but we're able to do so. But to keep hold of the goal, keep the clean sheet, and all 3 points as well will be a massive positive for them, and really pleasing. I think that it can show that they can do both sides of the game in terms of from an attacking point of view and holding on for a goal. It's now it's 2 1-0 wins within a week for Plymouth. 1-0 victors away at Wycombe midweek, and then 1-0 victors at the weekend at home to Rotherham as well. And obviously 1-0, not the most exciting scorelines, but it's a clean sheet as well. I think amongst that both times, I think they've struggled for clean sheets a little bit this season, have Plymouth. But
yeah, definitely.
It's really good for them going forward against a Rotherham side that you thought might have come back. They suffered defeat in midweek, and you thought that they might have come back pretty heavy defeat as well, 3-0 on Wednesday at home to Blackpool. I thought they might have come back a bit more in this one in terms of proving something wrong, because they'd actually been on a really good run of form before that. I thought that the midweek might have just been a little blip, but now on the other side, it's now 2 defeats in a week for Rotherham. Obviously, this one not as bad. This one only by 1 goal, but Wednesday by 3. But still a bit of concern. They're obviously lacking a bit of firepower up front. Still, a lot of strikers are out injured. I think that they said it in the post-match interview that the chairman's promised funds in January for more attacking reinforcements, but that's not happening right now. That will happen in January. There's still a fair amount of games to get through first, but they just have a constant injury crisis, really, to the Millers. And they'll just be hoping and praying that they can get everyone through until that point. Hugo was back starting from the off, and Tom Holmes made his first start of the season at centre-half as well. It's nice to see an actual centre-half start at centre-half for the Millers after sort of people covering.
It's not been quite as straightforward as it for Rotherham over recent weeks in terms of the injuries. To what you said there, Matt Hamshaw saying he's been given the green light to sign a striker or two in January. So that coming from football heaven. BBC
They
Radio
need it.
Sheffield.
They absolutely need it because Jordan Hugo's, we all know his qualities he can possess, but again, he can't rely on him every game. And he's playing alongside Arjani Martha, who is not a striker. He's a left winger, but he's having to play
Martin
up there.
Sheriff, when he's played, he's not been perfect either.
Yeah. He's only 20 years old, sort of a young lad. You can't expect it all to come from him as well. But Sheriff's out injured as well now. We've got Sam Nombe out injured. Hugo's only just come back from injury. Josh Benson's out injured as well, who's also been sort of playing in that striker role. So the options that they did have seem to sort of be slowly reducing by the minute. So no doubt, I'm sure we'll see maybe a goalkeeper playing up front in the next few games for Rotherham, perhaps. But no, on a serious note, it's square pegs in round hole, I think, at the minute for Rotherham United, and it's just sort of literally a case of getting them through to January. They were looking at, whilst they were going through this sort of injury crisis, the results were on a pretty good run of form. I think they were 8 unbeaten in the league at one point up until a week or so ago. But now it's sort of 2 defeats on the bounce. So it shows how quickly things can switch. And reality starting to look a little bit more in terms of lack of players, and players that are now injury free they can't obviously play 90 minutes straight away. They have to be slowly brought back into the fold. So that's a bit of a test for Hampshire. Losing, I guess, won't be that big of an issue. It's just a hell of a long way to go and lose. It would be the only thing.
It's a long old trip down to Plymouth. Final word on them: they leapfrog their Devon Derby rivals Exeter in the table. They're still in the drop zone just by the virtue of one goal on goal difference. They're just behind Doncaster, Peterborough, Reading, who are all also on 22 points. They go ahead Exeter. Head of Exeter, though, I beg your pardon, up into 21st. 6 other games in the league. Blackpool 2-2 against Lincoln City, coming from 2-0 down Blackpool to secure a point there. Sarcevic and Poynton on target in the second half as Bradford City win 2-0 against Reading. It was 1-1 between Huddersfield Town and Wigan Athletic. It's 5 league games now without victory for Huddersfield. That pressure continues for Lee Grant, who picked up a Manager of the Month nomination not too long ago, despite these recent results.
There's boos at John Smith Stadium as well. They're clearly not happy, the Huddersfield fans, with the style of play Lee Grant. I know it's a point, it's still a point, I guess, but the boos at full time and lots of chants towards Lee Grant in terms of his style of play, not clearly favourable by the fans at Huddersfield Town. 3 league wins over 3 months. People saying he's struggling really for players to get a grip to the playing style, and struggling to keep a clean sheet, which obviously should be his
forte.
His forte absolutely has been a former goalkeeper, but they're struggling at the minute, Huddersfield.
Yeah, definitely that. Bolton Wanderers, victory for them. There were 2 goals in the last 20 minutes as they beat Exeter City by 2-1. And then it was goalless between Burton Albion and Wycombe Wanderers, and also between AFC Wimbledon and Mansfield Town. So that rounds us up for this episode of the review show here on the League One Lowdown, the Deck Podcast Network. Myself and Seb, thank you all for listening or watching. Do remember to subscribe, to like the video, and to follow along if you're on podcast platforms. Our Christmas schedule is on its way, so keep an eye out on social media. We're on X, the Deck EFL, and across other socials, including TikTok, that we've got our Advent calendar series going out on there at the minute. Not to give away too many spoilers, but I recorded my Peterborough United player of the season so far before Saturday's game, and I picked the lad who scored the 2 goals. So I was chuffed to bits when I saw that earlier today, Seb, that Mark Leonard had got a couple of goals, making my pick look all the more better.
Well, it shows you know what you're talking about, Jamie. So, I wish I could say the same for some of my player of the seasons that I've said, but not quite worked out as favourably. But I'm glad it's worked out for you, Jamie. You know.
I know Ian Bailey scored as well. He was one of my other picks, so happy on that front. Do head on to the TikTok League One Lowdown over there. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you again next time.